This is, I believe, my final talk on explaining the Course. This is quite an amazing thing that's going on here, as I've said many times, the Atonement Plan. And the final piece of the Atonement Plan that I want to talk about is called the real world. Now, I've never heard anybody who's a course teacher talk about the real world in a way that's meaningful at all to me. But it's quite obvious what it is. It's very simple. This is a really easy concept. The real world is what happens when you wake up. It's called enlightenment. It's called satori, samadhi, nirvana, moksha. It's called a million different things. The Course calls it the real world, the happy dream, the corrected perception, knowledge. It calls it many different things, but it's all very simple. It means that you have awakened. In other disciplines, it's also called the release of kundalini. The idea is the same. It doesn't matter what the word is. It just matters that you wake up. Now, this real world, as part of the Atonement Plan, understand this. The Atonement Plan, when God realized that there was something wonky going on here, He created the solution to the problem of separation and sleep. And He laid this atonement plan gently over the entire universe. And as I said before, it's a plan that includes the Holy Spirit and forgiveness, the miracle, the holy instant, and the real world. The real world looks exactly like this world. When you wake up, you temporarily stay here for a while, but you're not living in the same place. It looks the same with your eyeballs, but you're not perceiving it with your eyeballs anymore because your eyes don't see the truth. Your eyes see what you want them to see based on your beliefs and your perceptions. But now you're looking with the Christ vision on the world, which is also known as the third eye. You're seeing through another way. You're seeing with another means. And there are many people right now who are walking around on earth who do not see it like the rest of us. They don't see separate items. They don't see stress or suffering or unhappiness. All they see is a beautiful, beautiful world where everything is part of them. They can't separate themselves from whatever they see. They can't judge things because they are now living within God's will. This is a very hard concept to understand. So I'm going to try and read a couple of things to you that I hope will help, because it's it's really hard to explain. There is a woman named Jan Frazier, and I hope she doesn't mind that I'm going to read from her book. The book is called When Fear Falls Away, and this is a book she wrote about her awakening process. She's not a course student, but what she describes is exactly what happens when you wake up from the dream. And she's trying to express, and she's a very good writer, and she uses her writing skills to very elaborately illustrate what happened to her. And this is just one little example of what she wants us all to know. So this is from her book, When Fear Falls Away. I am incredulous that people would spend real time, valuable time, doing much of anything but seeking this thing that somehow fell into my lap. It's that amazingly wonderful. Oh, all these stupid words: wonderful, amazingly, valuable, incredulous. It's all I can do to keep myself from running up and down all the streets and shrieking at nobody in particular. Your life is not at all what you imagine. You think you have good times? You think you have love? You ain't seen nothing yet. I want to tell people to take them by the arms and plead with them. Drop everything. Take all the effort you've been putting into the stuff of regular life and put it into this. And they would do that. Every single person would do that if they knew what this was like, if they knew what they were missing. The trouble is, they are unable to imagine it, which is why I ache to share the reality of it, however impossible a task that may be. She's trying to describe what she feels every day. She talks about being able to function. It took her a while to learn how to function after she was awake because what she was experiencing was so different from her old life. But once she learned how to function, she can live in both worlds. She can immediately go into a meditative state and experience deep bliss, or she can come out of it and deal with what needs to be dealt with. She knows exactly what to do because there's another thing going on here. There is something that awakened people talk about, and they use different names to refer to it. They talk about a force or a flow or some idea of connectedness that they are connected to that provides them with exactly what they need to know at the moment they need it. This is the Holy Spirit. They are connected directly to the Holy Spirit. If they want something, if they need something, it's right there for them. It really is now part of the creation process. They have nothing left to learn. There's no more work for them to do. Once you're enlightened, you might still come back in another life because you still may not have been enlightened at the highest level that you could have, because there are different levels of enlightenment. And if you read different accounts of enlightenment, you will know that. For instance, Jesus was fully enlightened. He was enlightened at the God level. Buddha was not. He was enlightened, but you notice that there's no deity in Buddhism. That's because Buddha did not achieve the highest level. He did not reach the God level. And he had to come back in another life to achieve that. But that's unimportant. It's still, once you're awake, you're done. From then on, God takes over, and you are led to what you need to do. The reason you wake up and you still experience this life for a while is explained in the Course. It says that the shock of waking up immediately and going into God would be very powerful. So what happens is that you wake up and you still spend it in a place that you're familiar with. Your ego is still there, just a tiny bit of your ego is still there, just enough to keep you functional in this three-dimensional world. But you now go through a process of completing your waking up process. You go through a transitional process. And then at the end, it says God will grab you by the scruff of your neck and lift you up into heaven. And that's going to be different for everybody because everybody goes through it a different way. It's a very personal process. So this world is a totally different world from the world you're living in. There are two worlds here. God made the real world to show us what our world would be like if He made it. And it's a much better version because you see everything as part of you. You see everything as beautiful and perfect and without conflict. That doesn't mean you're not going to have problems and things aren't going to go wrong. The difference is that you don't react to them with conflict or stress, and you know exactly what to do to solve them because you are tapped in to the source of all knowledge. You know exactly what to do because all you have to do is take a second and stop your mind, and the answer comes to you. You know what to do, you do it, and then you go back to your blissful state or whatever you want to do. It's a very different way of living. Now, one thing I want to say about it is it's not a and one thing I want to stress about it is that this is not a simple change in attitude or an aha moment, and it's not comparable to an altered state of consciousness brought about by drugs or alcohol. It is an unbelievable, ineffable, permanent, and massive transformation of consciousness that is inconceivable to the ego. And it's absolutely unknown by anyone who is not enlightened. It is the death of yourself as you know yourself to be in all respects, and the birth of a new you in God. Across this bridge from this world that we live in to the real world is a very, very tiny step. The Course stresses that. It's a very small step. To us, it seems huge. When you're on the other side, you realize how small it is. Now, there are a lot of phrases like in Zen, the gateless gate, and phrases that seem really weird. But that's because the people who say these things are trying to explain something that is inexplicable for them. The words just can't describe it. But it's very simple if you think about it. From our point of view, there's a barrier, a gate between us and God. Once you cross that barrier, you turn around and you look, and it's not there anymore. That's the gateless gate. That's all it means. It's simple. There are lots of phrases like that. Don't worry about them. It's just that when you're awake, it's so hard to understand that maybe the words you're using are not relating to the people who are left behind down here. So don't worry about the things that you don't understand with enlightenment. Just understand that you're here to forgive. That's all. There's not all this teaching about the Course and all of the things that we break down into all of the little pieces. Those are all very unimportant. The Course can be summed up very simply. You are dreaming. You are asleep. The way to wake up is to stop giving this dream importance. It's to stop giving it reality by focusing on it, by concentrating on it, by seeing it as real, by giving it drama. Stop it. You do that by forgiving. You forgive and you take yourself to another world where you see that nothing is happening here. No one's doing anything to you. You have to change your mind often about this dream. You do it every chance you get. You change your mind about the dream to make the dream stop. And then, eventually, you wake up. And that's all you need to know about the Course. The hardest part is believing that this is a dream. To believe that we have fallen asleep. And we have fallen asleep so much that we've forgotten that we are a piece of God, and we created a world to replace God that is so consistent that we don't question it. It's consistent, so we don't look for something else. We're not looking to get out of here because we think this is it, because we've made it so well. So believing that this is a dream is a major hurdle in overcoming it. Once you believe it, just remember, forgiving, that's it. So there are basically three phases that every human goes through, and these are just ad hoc phases. Don't worry about them. But the first one is the phase that most people are living in right now, and it is living life every day and reacting to what is happening to you, not knowing that this is a dream. It is the place where 99.9% of the population is right now. People just stumbling through life, asleep and unaware of what's going on here. The second phase, which is a very, very small part of that 0.1%, or I should say it's a very large. The second phase is a very large number of that 0.1% of people. And that phase is understanding what's going on here, being aware of the atonement plan, being aware that this is a dream, and being aware that you are responsible for everything that comes into your life, just like your dreams at night. You are dreaming. Once you're aware and you start forgiving, eventually you move on to the third phase, which is enlightenment. And that's a very, very small percentage of people on the planet right now. I don't know, but I'd guess a couple hundred, a couple thousand at the most. But it's a very small number of people. I think it might be higher now or increasing now because of the ease of communication through the internet and through all the people who can help us, who are posting videos, who are teaching us. But there are also a lot of people who are posting videos that are ego distractions that are slowing us down. So it might cut both ways, I'm not sure. And in any event, it doesn't matter. All you need to do is forgive. Start forgiving by accepting this as a dream. That's all that matters. Accept that this is a dream. Work on that. Try and see, examine within yourself, if you can, that this is a dream. And then maybe you'll see that there really is another plan. There's an atonement plan. Now, I have left so much out in explaining the Course, but there's not much to explain. There's a lot of detail, and it's almost 700 pages just with the text, and I think it's like 1,200 with all the other pieces. It's not important. It's important that you understand what's going on here. There's a huge atonement plan that's there to help us all wake up, to see what's going on here. Your life is not what you think it is. Even if you understand it's a dream, it's not the dream you think it is. If I could only stress to you how different life is going to be for all of us when we see what's going on here. We first experience, after waking up, the real world, the God version of Earth. And then we go through the process of awakening, and then we go through the process of waking more fully. And God is doing that, the Holy Spirit is doing that. And then eventually, we leave. That doesn't mean we're not going to come back. We can still come back to help people. We can still be available without a body to teach behind the scenes, to help people, to be guides. But there's no need to be on earth anymore once you wake up, except for a short time maybe. I hope this helps you understand the Course in a different way, in a better way. That's my only goal, is to try and help people see that there's something so huge and you are so much better than you can ever imagine yourself. You are so much more huge. And the purpose of life is not this. It's not earth. It's something so much bigger and so much better. And that's who you are. As I said before, you are magnificent, but not ego magnificent. You are God magnificent. Thank you.